The story begins with a couple whose intentions seem far from honorable. Today, they have a dangerous plan to rob a grocery store, and they've come fully prepared for it. However, even after looting the entire place, Jodie wasn't satisfied. Her eyes fixated on a box behind the cashier, and she insisted that he open it. The cashier warned her, saying what's inside isn't what she thinks it is, and pleaded for her not to open it. But greed had taken hold of Jodie. She forced it open. Then, a gunshot echoed. We are instantly transported to a desolate forest where a frightened, solitary girl wanders, weak from hunger. She is completely alone, with no one in sight. What happened in her past to leave her in this condition? We don't know yet, but right now, she spots a small wooden cabin ahead. She immediately rushes inside. There, Samantha discovers a bag filled with food. Whatever she could grab, she began to eat voraciously. But then, a terrifying sound came from outside. Someone was approaching. Overcome with fear, Samantha hid underneath a bed. A moment later, a man entered holding an axe, but we couldn't see his face. He picked up his food bag and quietly left. Hiding below, Samantha remained silent and terrified. After some time passed, she decided she had to get out of there, so she made a run for it. But just then, she collided with the same man, whose name was Tom. He didn't harm her. Instead, he offered help. Seeing this, Samantha apologized for stealing from his bag, explaining she hadn't eaten for 2 days. Her car had broken down nearby, and her husband had gone to a gas station for assistance but hadn't returned. Coincidentally, Tom's car was also broken. In fact, he had been stuck there for 3 days. Hearing this, Samantha grew worried and said she needed to leave for her husband, who might have returned. Tom went with her, but no one was there. They left a note and, taking some warm clothes, returned to the cabin. At night, the temperature dropped significantly. Tom offered her a blanket she had brought from her car. He couldn't understand why her husband would leave her alone in the jungle. Couldn't he have taken her with him? Samantha then revealed that she is pregnant, which might be why he did it. Hearing this, Tom suggested she take the bed while he slept on the floor. Before they slept, he gave her water from a nearby stream. But the strange part was, when he went back the next day, the stream had completely vanished. With these confusing questions lingering, they both went to sleep. During the night, Samantha had a terrible nightmare, causing her to wake up early. However, she couldn't find Tom anywhere. When she went outside, she found a girl with white hair lying unconscious. She quickly brought her inside the cabin. Meanwhile, Tom was siphoning fuel from his car to put into Samantha's, hoping they could finally escape. Inside, the white-haired girl regained consciousness, and we recognize her. It's Jodie, the girl from the grocery store heist. How did she end up here? When she saw Samantha, she assumed she was an enemy and that this place belonged to her. Samantha explained her entire situation, but Jodie still didn't believe her. Angrily, she stormed out of the cabin. During this, Tom was returning with the fuel when 2 gunshots suddenly rang out, scaring him so badly that he dropped the container. He shouted to see if anyone was around, but there was no response, so he went back. He saw the strange girl with Samantha, who was indeed Jodie. She lied, saying she had a fight with her boyfriend, who then abandoned her here. Now, she just wanted to go home. Hearing her story, Tom agreed to let her stay, but in return, she would have to help with their tasks. The next day, Samantha and Jodie bonded and became friends, but Tom's troubles were far from over. He noticed that the farther he walked from their location, the closer he got. He was repeatedly returning to the same cabin, which he found incredibly bizarre. So he returned to the 2 women and said this place wasn't right. They needed to leave. But I need to know one thing. Where were you all actually going? Does anyone know what this place is? Samantha said her husband told her it was New Hampshire, but Jodie claimed the area was Dakota, while Tom said he was on a route to Los Angeles. After this discussion, they understood they were in deep trouble. Tom decided they would walk as far as possible the next morning to find help or another way out. That night, Jodie and Tom both experience a very strange, shared dream where someone is injecting them with something. Samantha had a similar dream where she was writhing in pain. When morning came, they packed their things and started walking. Samantha and Jodie talked, and Jodie shared some pages from her past. For example, her mother died giving birth to her, and she grew up in an orphanage. Suddenly, her foot hit something, and she fell. At that moment, a stack of cash fell from her pocket, which surprised Tom. He immediately asked where she got so much money. She replied that it was her savings she had kept with her boyfriend but took it when she left. Then, Samantha's eyes fell on the object Jodie had tripped over. It was a handle. When Tom broke it open with his axe, it turned out to be a German bunker. Inside were various military supplies and some canned food bearing a Nazi army symbol. Here, Samantha mentioned her father had fought in the war, so such items were common in her home. Tom brought all the cans and the two women outside. The troubling part was they were back at the cabin again. They thought they were walking in a straight line, but it seemed nothing worked as they expected here. In the next moment, we see all three having dinner. Later, the two women are talking, and Jodie confesses to Samantha that she steals because she has no other skills. She isn't educated. Samantha asked if she could see the stolen money again, as she had never seen so much cash. Jodie happily showed her the money, which made Samantha laugh. It felt like a joke because the bills were dated 1984. To her, that money was from the future. But Jodie insisted she lives in 1984. However, according to Samantha, the current year is 1964. This was all extremely strange. Two women in the same place, but from different timelines. When Tom returned, they asked him the same question. What year was he from? He says he is from 2011. After hearing this, both women shared their full stories. At first, Tom thought it was a prank, but seeing the gravity in their words, he understood something was seriously wrong. Suddenly, gunshots were heard from outside. Who was firing repeatedly? When they looked, they saw an unknown man with a gun. They needed help, so Tom went out, telling the man they were in trouble. But the man started speaking in German, which Tom couldn't understand. He did, however, realize he was being told to drop the axe. He complied. When he opened his eyes next, all three were tied up, and the German had vanished. Now, they were beginning to think they might have time traveled. They were captives, and the German was gone. Samantha, being from the oldest time, asked, has time travel become possible by 2011? Tom replied that nothing like that had been invented. A short while later, the German returned and untied Tom's ropes. He took him outside and beat him severely, finally tying him to a tree. Then he went back inside and started questioning the women about who they were and where they came from. His gaze fell upon Jodie's locket, and he began asking about it. Only Samantha knew German, so she explained that the locket belonged to her mother and that she had an identical one. The German man then angrily showed them the same locket around his own neck. It contained a picture of a woman who looked exactly like Samantha's mother. Things were gradually becoming more and more unsettling. But stay with us, because the ending will shock you. He brings both girls outside, where Samantha asks Tom if he also has a similar locket, but he denies it. Meanwhile, the stranger had forgotten that Tom had untied his own ropes. In the next moment, the stranger was in the same predicament he had put them in, but the three of them stood there, lost in their own turmoil, because they were starting to see the puzzle coming together. Samantha claimed the picture in the man's locket was of her mother. Tom was reluctant to believe it. But when Jodie said the woman in the picture was her grandmother, he was stunned. Here, we also learn the stranger's name, which Samantha reveals to us. His name was Hans, and he was actually her father. But that's not all. When Samantha asked Jodie for her date of birth, she said June 3rd, 1964. This was the exact date Jodie's mother had died while giving birth to her daughter. And that daughter was none other than Jodie herself. Are you shocked? The entire cabin was now shrouded in disbelief. The revelation was so astounding that everyone was speechless. When Samantha learned her husband had actually been killed in the war, she ran out of the cabin, crying. But another secret was yet to be revealed. Outside, Tom told Jodie that her mother was a thief. She denied this, saying she didn't have such a locket, but he insisted he had the same one at his home. He explained that his mother was a thief who used to rob gas stations and grocery stores with her husband, Kevin. One day, she killed her own husband, a crime for which she was executed. This was a bitter truth, an actual fact, and Jodie couldn't bear to hear it. So she also ran out of the cabin. Her daughter, Jodie, went to the sad Samantha sitting outside. The feeling was now different. The old reality was gone. Since finding out she would die giving birth to her daughter, Samantha's world had been shattered, but she was happy because her daughter was alive, and her grandparents would later take care of her. However, Jodie revealed that her grandparents were abusive and always kept her hungry, which is why she ran away from home as a child. Hearing this, Samantha wept and immediately went back to the cabin to explain everything to Hans, her father, and started trying to free him. Tom tried to stop her, warning he could be dangerous, but Samantha was sure her father wouldn't harm her. Yet, as soon as he was free, he grabbed his gun and clothes and fled. During this, Samantha remembered her nightmare of dying in childbirth because her husband, Adam, was at war and the ambulance arrived late. Tom also shared that he had a similar dream where he shot the father who abused him and then shot himself. Finally, it was Jodie's turn. She recalled the day of her execution. This means all three of them now know they are going to die and how, but they aren't dead yet. This implies they can change their past. For this, Tom immediately took them to the German bunker. He believed it all started with Hans's death, so they had to prevent it first. Samantha explained that her father died on May 14th in an airstrike in Poland. Today was May 14th, and the place they were standing in was Poland. They had a chance. Tom devised a plan, explaining that if Hans didn't die, his wife, Samantha's mother, wouldn't remarry. This meant he would be home and could take Samantha to the hospital during labor, so he rushed to find Hans, who was trying to get a radio working in the cabin. It was broken. Samantha told him about the airstrike, but he wouldn't listen and started to run. Tom tried his best to stop him, but a terrible mistake happened. Hans fired a shot that hit Jodie directly. He escaped, but the other two brought the injured Jodie back to the cabin. Tom was now extremely distressed because if Jodie died, he would never be born. I have to stop this somehow, he thought, and ran after Hans. Meanwhile, Samantha did everything she could to keep her daughter alive. Fate never gives us the power to see our own future. Otherwise, we would tamper with nature's design, with devastating consequences. Tom found Hans, but he kept escaping his grasp. But he noticed one thing. Wherever Hans ran, he always ended up back at the cabin. So Tom also went back to the cabin, where they now stood face to face. Hans fired several shots at him, but not a single one hit. Tom's very existence was fading, like Jodie's last breaths. As her spirit left her body, Tom's own being dissolved. And then came the moment he completely disappeared because Jodie was dead. Seeing this, Samantha felt immense anger towards her father. He had made his own life difficult and that of his future generations. After all this, Hans finally believed her words. But now what? It was too late. Russian planes appeared in the sky. Both of them ran, but bombs began to fall, injuring Samantha. Her father carried her into the bunker. Slowly, Samantha's existence also began to fade. Because Hans had saved himself, he didn't die when he was supposed to. This means everything will be set right. But one thing still won't change. You'll find out what that is in a moment. The scene shifts back to the time when the story began, but things are very different now. Jodie goes to the same grocery store, but in a new guise, a wealthy and educated woman. But as she walked out, she saw Kevin, who was about to commit the same crime with another girlfriend. A new partner means Tom will never exist, because Jodie and Kevin never met. This happened because Samantha is now alive, as we see in the next scene. She holds her father's ashes, which she has respectfully paid tribute to in 1964. We then see the store again, where Kevin's new girlfriend, Amelie, has looted everything. But in the end, her greed wasn't satisfied either. Her eyes landed on the box behind the cashier, and she demanded it be opened. The cashier warned her, if you go in there, nothing can be fixed. But she didn't listen. A shot was fired, and with that, the story ends. Friends, This was an incredible story that completely messes with your mind. Well, how did you like it? Please let us know by hitting like and leaving a comment for Winds of Thought. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.